My December weather forecast for the United States and Europe is finally here, and in this video I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about the weather this month in your area. Just like many of my previous videos, today's forecast will be split into two separate chapters, starting with my European weather forecast and then with my United States December forecast coming right after. If you are here for the United States December outlook, make sure you skip to the timestamp that will show up on your screen. With that said, let's begin with Chapter 1. November was a very interesting month in the weather world for Europe. We started off the month with a series of damaging windstorms over Western Europe, with a particularly intense one impacting parts of France and the UK. Then later in the month, we had a powerful blast of Arctic air which led to a historic blizzard over the Black Sea region, causing widespread disruption all the way from the Balkans to parts of Ukraine and Russia. But we have now entered December, which means that the weather has some new surprises in store for us. In order to get the general idea of what's to come throughout the month, we're going to start in the short range before taking a look at the long range. This is the weekly outlook for December 3rd to December 10th. We see a big signal for a weather pattern across Western Europe, much like the way November started. For temperatures, we're still seeing widespread persistent cold sticking around from the blast of Arctic air back in November, but as you'll see shortly, this will change. For December 10th through the 17th, we're going to continue seeing an active storm track crashing right into the UK, Ireland, and maybe as far south as the Iberian Peninsula, while the rest of Europe remains generally average to slightly below average in terms of precipitation. For temperatures, we may see a warming trend, especially for southern and western Europe, while Eastern Europe into Scandinavia will continue holding on to that colder air. Then for December 17th into the 24th, we see all the colors on the precipitation map become less pronounced, and this is because of some uncertainty in the weather pattern. Even still, we see particularly active weather continuing for northwestern Europe, as well as parts of the Mediterranean around Greece and Turkey, while everyone else is closer to average. For temperatures, it looks to remain generally the same, with warmer weather still likely for Western Europe, although Eastern Europe looks to stay colder. And lastly, for December 24th into the 31st, we see those green shades brighten again across Western Europe, indicating that an active storm track will be possible still. For temperatures, generally warmer weather is going to be most likely in southern and western areas, while the north and east could see colder weather. Let's take a look and see if the shorter range models are agreeing with the climate models. We start this off today on December 4th, and you can already see exactly why all the climate models agree on a persistent stormy pattern across Western Europe. And it's because we have not one or two systems coming, but a train of them coming within the next week or so. Then when the systems move further inland, rain switches to snow over Scandinavia and Eastern Europe, which reaffirms that colder weather pattern remaining locked in place. So now that we've confirmed that the climate models are in agreement with what looks to occur in the short range, now we can take a look at my overall forecast. Starting over northern Africa and Iberia, we have a few different areas. The yellow can expect mostly dry conditions with very little precipitation. The lighter green can expect occasional rainfall, coming mostly in the form of cold fronts from bigger storms further north. The dark green shade for the United Kingdom, Ireland, Benelux, and France can expect a very persistent warm and westerly pattern throughout the month of December, and for the red shade, this is where some of the low pressure systems may impact directly, so be on the lookout for damaging windstorms at times across Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and northern England. Iceland and parts of Norway can expect a very dry start to the month before turning wetter and snowier later. Then across this large blue shade from Russia into the Baltic and Nordic countries, very persistent cold air is expected, which also means that precipitation will fall as snow. The story will be a bit different in the purple shade across parts of southern Scandinavia into Central Europe. This is an area where I'm expecting big shifts throughout the month. December started very cold for some of these areas, but now I'm expecting a warm up across Central Europe with a train of storms coming in from the west. Then we could see another intense wave of cold air later this month, which could mean more snowfall. Lastly, the Mediterranean can expect an on and off pattern, with stormy periods followed by calmer periods. I also expect temperatures to stay generally warmer than usual, especially in coastal areas. That will be all for my European December forecast, so I hope you found this helpful and informative. If you have any questions about this forecast, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. Now, with that said, let's take a look at my United States December forecast. We're going to start off with my overall precipitation outlook for the month. A couple areas will be the main focus for above normal precipitation. One is over the northwest and the other is over the southeast. The one for the southeast is quite typical for an El Nino, with above normal precipitation in the northwest being somewhat normal for an El Nino. I have included the lightest green shade for California since there's a chance that the storm track will shift south later this month. But since I'm not fully confident in that happening until January, I am leaving the greatest probabilities for the Northwest. Then for drier than normal weather, I think that's going to be most possible across the northern plains into the Great Lakes. Everyone else within the gray shade can be considered the equal chances zone, which is an area that could go either way. Next up, we have my temperature forecast, and much like the last few Decembers, it's looking like a blowtorch month for pretty much everyone. I'm expecting warmer than normal temperatures across all of the lower 48, with the highest probabilities for the central portion of the country. The west coast and the northeast may be a little closer to average, which is why those areas are maintained in the lighter orange. The widespread warmer than normal weather across the central portion of the US with occasional intrusions of cold air could lead to severe weather at times. I'm already watching our next severe chance on December 9th, with a slight risk already issued by the Storm Prediction Center. This threat could be brought on by a clash between very warm air and cold air from Canada, so stay tuned for more updates on that. Throughout the rest of December, I would expect most areas to have the greatest severe threat in this red area, especially the dark red zone from eastern Texas into Dixie Alley, which is the typical severe weather threat area for this time of the year, so I don't really expect anything too out of the ordinary as far as severe weather. And now for my overall United States December forecast. Starting in the northwest, I'm expecting a very active pattern with relentless storms and associated atmospheric rivers over the course of the month. Further south in California, generally dry weather is expected for much of the month, but I can't rule out a change in the storm track later in December. The southwestern United States can expect a very calm weather pattern, especially for the first half of December, with almost no rainfall for most areas and generally warm temperatures. The blue shade over the central Rockies can expect waves of mountain snow, primarily the further north and west you go. Areas further south will see less precipitation. The northern plains into the Great Lakes can expect well above normal temperatures. Despite the above normal temperatures, it's still going to be cold enough to snow, so this area can expect occasional clipper systems with gusty winds, frigid air, and light snow. The central United States can expect much warmer than normal temperatures, with a few periods of colder air, especially behind stronger systems. And of course, eastern Texas into Dixie Alley will be the severe weather threat area, and with some of these severe weather events, we could see some heavy rain leading to flooding. Florida can expect wetter than normal conditions with comfortable temperatures, with the Carolinas and Georgia seeing occasional cool downs. The Ohio Valley will also see a similar pattern to the Carolinas, but I have included it in a separate area since I expect some of these cool downs to be accompanied by snowfall, much like the northern plains. Lastly, I expect the Northeast to see frequent cool downs and snowfall. The entire Northeast will be affected by the colder air, but much of the snowfall will be confined to inland and mountainous areas. That will conclude my official December weather forecast for the US and Europe, and I hope this video helped you know generally what weather to expect throughout the month. But as we all know, weather is constantly changing, so make sure you do subscribe to this channel for more weather forecasts and updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.